It is Market Monday. Each and every Monday, I go over the biggest risers and fallers in average draft position in the best ball markets. We'll discuss whether I'm buying or selling these players at their new prices and why. The idea is to get you up to speed very quickly on what's actually happening out there in drafts and how to adjust. Let's get into it here with the 3 best ball fallers from the last 7 days. Start with Anthony Richardson, down 13 spots on both sites, falling fast into the 180s plus right now. Big news last week was Anthony Richardson aggravated the right throwing shoulder he injured in 2023. Remember that 2023 right shoulder injury cost him almost his entire rookie year. He had to undergo surgery to repair the AC joint. Length of rehab this time is unclear. He's not undergoing surgery. He says he'll be back for training camp, but the team is not putting a timetable on it. Bottom line is 2 things. First, we already suspected the Colts wanted to start Daniel Jones week 1. Colts coaches keep talking about consistency and ability to stay on the field at the quarterback position. That is the antithesis of Anthony Richardson. If I had to bet right now, I'd bet on Daniel Jones starting week 1 for the Colts easily, which is great news for Colts pass catchers that we've been ahead of market on. Josh Downs, Michael Pittman, also great for Tyler Warren. The trickier part is who will be starting down the stretch, who will be starting in the fantasy playoffs for the Colts. Because I think too many times when people are drafting best ball, or really any format, they're trying to win week 1. They're not trying to win in December when all the money is actually won. And so if I took Anthony Richardson, if I'm the Colts and I took Anthony Richardson 4th overall in 2023, he's still 22 years old. He still started just 15 NFL games and 13 college games. If I know I can't win a Super Bowl, and I'm really unlikely to even win 10 or 11 games with Daniel Jones, I'd personally want to give Anthony Richardson more chances. So Daniel Jones is up 14 spots on DraftKings to 202 overall. I think it's fine there, but he's going to keep moving up. And you have to start considering the opportunity cost, say, in round 15, when we're not sure if Jones can hold the job all year. The other part of this is just, is Anthony Richardson's body made for pro football? He's only been in the league 2 years. Shoulder, concussion, oblique/hip, back spasms. Those have all already cost him games. I think the Colts have acknowledged they're worried about this. They're talking about needing someone they can rely on for 17 games. Last thing on this. As I said, Anthony Richardson has started 15 NFL games. He's averaged 16.9 DraftKings points in them. And just like last season, just last season, A-Rich went over 20 DraftKings points in 4 out of the 10 games he started and finished. I mean, that's a ton. Patrick Mahomes, for example, only had 20-plus points in 4 of his 16 games last season. So even if you think Anthony Richardson is bad in real life, which I think most people do right now, if he starts, he's going to move the needle in fantasy football. And so I'm willing to be in at the cheapest price A-Rich has ever been in other formats. Now, maybe not best ball, but other formats where taking potential zeros isn't so bad. So right now in best ball, I would only take A-Rich in large field on DraftKings, where I can take 3 quarterbacks in a room where I feel really good about the first 2. And I'd take Jones as part of Pittman, Downs, Warren stuff if Jones lasts late enough, again, as the quarterback 3 on DraftKings only. Still, the job security of dust balls like Aaron Rodgers, who I'll get to later, and Sam Darnold, I think are better in best ball than Daniel Jones right now. All right, faller 2 is RJ Harvey, down 3 spots on DraftKings to 53 overall. This is about the Broncos hosting J.K. Dobbins for a visit last week. Dobbins came to Denver, had dinner with the coaches, visited the facility, left without a contract. Per Mike Klis, no signing is imminent, but Dobbins remains on the Broncos' radar. In my eyes, Audric Estime and Julio McLaughlin and Tyler Batty, they're all like borderline NFL players. If they're out of the league in a couple years, I wouldn't be surprised. So I don't think it should shock anyone that the Broncos are doing due diligence on available running backs. Dobbins still very much in play to sign with the Broncos before camp opens in late July. We'll see. The real question to me is, what does this say about RJ Harvey? And I don't think it's very much. If RJ Harvey is as good as the Broncos think he is, if he's as good as a lot of the tape bros and draft prospect evaluators thought that he was. J.K. Dobbins isn't going to come in and steal 150 plus touches. It's not like we were already projecting RJ Harvey for some Ashton Genty or Devon Achan or Derrick Henry-esque workload anyways. If Dobbins signs with the Broncos, he'll take the Estime work and maybe the McLaughlin work. And that assumes that Dobbins, absurd injury history isn't an issue. So yes, I think good spot to buy the dip on RJ Harvey here if people are backing off. Third faller to talk about is Caleb Williams. He is sinking hard on underdog. Caleb was going 95 overall a month ago, 104 last week. Now Caleb is at 106 overall. I'm honestly not sure what's up here. This is a pretty sharp fall for Caleb Williams, considering there hasn't really been any news. Obviously, the offseason could not have gone much better for him. Massive coaching upgrade in Ben Johnson, big offensive line upgrades, adds Colson Loveland, Luther Burden. Now he has really talented set of weapons entering year 2 once you add in Rome Odunze, DJ Moore, DeAndre Swift. Just no excuses for Caleb this year. The plate is set for him. One thing I will say about underdog is elite quarterback and rushing quarterback have more value. We talked about this on the Best Strategy show a couple weeks ago, but I'm just so much more likely to take Lamar, Josh Allen, Jaden Daniels, Jalen Hurts on underdog. And in those builds, I'm mostly passing on the range where Caleb goes because I already have elite quarterback. And when I don't get elite quarterback on underdog, I'm often going to the Justin Fields types. I also think JJ McCarthy is undervalued in a big way on underdog. Same with Purdy. So maybe it's some construction stuff that's making Caleb fall. I'll just add that I do prefer Caleb stacked. Want to make correlated bets on Bears stuff. If it all clicks, it's a smash. So Caleb as part of DJ Moore and or Rome Odunze front door stacks appetizes me. And then you can also add Colson Loveland there on underdog, where we have him about 10 spots ahead of ADP. All right, let's get to this week's risers. First one is Aaron Rodgers, up 24 spots to 183 overall, rising fast on DraftKings. The other big news from last week, other than the Anthony Richardson thing, was Aaron Rodgers finally signing with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Obviously, a move the Steelers desperately needed. Other quarterbacks were Mason Rudolph and Will Howard. We were already baking in the expectation of Rodgers or Kirk Cousins signing with the Steelers. So we didn't have any really big ranking moves on DK Metcalf or Pat Freiermuth or the running backs. But now that we have certainty with Rodgers, it does make me feel a bit better about all of those Steelers guys. I mean, even at age 40 last year and with the Jets, Aaron Rodgers played all 17 games, threw for 3,900 yards, 28 touchdowns. That was good for 18th among all fantasy quarterbacks in points per game. The problem here is I think the Steelers setup is actually worse than the Jets for fantasy production. Beyond the somewhat inconsistent DK Metcalf and, a meh Pat Freiermuth, we're talking about Robert Woods, Calvin Austin, Roman Wilson. Maybe they add, a dusty veteran like Amari Cooper or Keenan Allen, but it's not great. And then you have Arthur Smith, where fantasy points go to die. And the Jets defense was so spotty last year. I thought they'd be good, but turned out they created some shootout opportunities for Rodgers. I don't think the Steelers want to or will play like that. So in a vacuum, I do think 183 overall is too high for Aaron Rodgers. I say in a vacuum because it's not that simple. On DraftKings, where it's 20 rounds, where we think everyone should be trying to get 3 quarterbacks, ideally 3 stacked quarterbacks, there's a race to get them. There's a finite number of quarterbacks expected to start 17 games. And so sometimes I'm willing to push them up beyond rank and reach just to ensure that I get 3. It's not ideal, but it's just the way it plays out on DraftKings sometimes. On Rodgers specifically, willing to reach for him as part of DK Metcalf teams. If Metcalf is going to hit at a mid-40s ADP, I really doubt he can do it with Mason Rudolph or Will Howard. Second riser is Keaton Mitchell, up 4.4 spots on DraftKings, still in that last round range. Interesting one here. Sickos will remember Keaton Mitchell as a rookie in 2023. He was absolutely electric. Undrafted rookie out of ECU, turned 47 carries into 396 yards for an 8.4 yards per carry. Also caught 9 balls for 93 yards. I mean, no one could tackle this dude. It was insane. Then he blows out his knee, comes back 2024, late in 2024, does not look great. Reports from Ravens OTAs are that he's all the way back now, et cetera. That causes the bump in ADP here. My real question is what happens if Derrick Henry gets hurt this year? Does Justice Hill, who is really, in my mind, a pass down back mostly, does he go workhorse? I don't really think so. I think ideally they would give Keaton Mitchell a chance at 8 to 10 touches per game. Now, this is a really thin bet, Keaton Mitchell, not one that I normally make in best ball. You need Derrick Henry to get hurt. You need Mitchell to stay healthy. You need him to be good enough to get work. So it's a really big parlay. But I wanted to bring it up just to talk about the value of having players in the best ball playoffs that no one else has. That's why we have ownership projections in the table for our underdog ranks. Shows you how often a guy's been drafted. Mitchell is at 11.1% right now. And so I never take him in anything smaller field, but I am watching his health and progress on the depth chart for things like Best Ball Mania or the $20 Millie Maker on DraftKings. When you're trying to beat 300,000, 600,000 other people, it's at least worth thinking through spots like Keaton Mitchell. All right, last one to talk about today is Pat Bryant, up 4.3 spots on DraftKings to 186 overall. I just have zero confidence in Sean Payton and player usage. Marvin Mims has been, I think, pretty good and productive anytime he's gotten chances, but he saw just 52 targets in 17 games last season. You know, he mixes in Lil Jordan Humphrey and Devon Valet ahead, rotation with Troy Franklin. So the way I'm playing Broncos right now is that there are three guys whose roles I think we can project solidly. Courtland Sutton, RJ Harvey, Evan Ingram. After that, I want to capitalize on market overconfidence. Market seems to assume it's going to be Marvin Mims as the wide receiver 2. Bryant, Valet, Franklin battling for scraps. I'm more interested in taking Pat Bryant shots at this cheap tag, still 186 overall. I'm more interested in that than Marvin Mims at 127 overall. Ideally on DraftKings, my wide receivers are already established in a big way by that time. And I can get things like Drake May, JJ McCarthy, Colston Loveland, Rashid Shaheed, Dallas Goedert, Rashad White, etc. I think all those guys are way better picks than Marvin Mims, especially on DraftKings, where reception volume means so much. Thanks to everyone for listening. This show will go up weekly from now until September. So if you haven't subscribed to the Established the Run podcast on audio or on YouTube, be sure you are by searching for it anywhere podcasts or the YouTube is found. Also, be sure to follow me on Twitter for a ton more player takes at Adam Levitan. We'll be back later this week with Silva to get his reaction to all the news that's happened in the last couple weeks as he continues to make updates to his top 150 rankings. For producer Ryan, for everyone on the data side team helping me to track these ADP moves, I'm Adam. Good luck, everybody.